Hello, I am Jennifer.Banta, and I am here to talk to you today a little bit more about investing in our childcare infrastructure. I want to start off by talking a little bit about the business case for childcare and kind of level setting on that industry and some of the challenges that it's going through right now. We're going to talk about the wage enhancement strategy that I'm hoping you will invest in. We have a robust set of partners and stakeholders that we're working with that I'd like to talk about, and then the long-term sustainability and the ask. So Johnson County's unemployment rate for September, according to the Iowa Workforce Development, was 2.6%. So that number is exactly the same as it was prior to COVID. But what that number doesn't represent is the number of people that haven't re-entered the workforce since COVID. So what I also want to level set real quickly on, some of the stats that we saw come out of the census a few years ago. Johnson County has about 22,000 children ages 0 to 12, and 76% of families with children under the age of 6 have all available parents working outside of the home. And nearly 10,000 child care spaces are available, but of those spaces, only 704 accept child care assistance in Johnson County. So that's only 7%. So we have a shortfall of slots, about almost 13,000 slots for children ages 0 to 12 in our community. And 2.3 children in Johnson County need care for every one slot available. Johnson County Social Services just got done doing a survey of 43 of our licensed child care centers in Johnson County. And what we found during that survey was that there are almost 1,300 empty spots in Johnson County child care centers for children 0 to 4 because there is not enough staff to fill that child care center. And there are 1,800 children ages 0 to 4 on waiting lists in those 43 child care centers in Johnson County. So the cost of child care has also gone up, as you may know if you're a parent. In Johnson County, a family with 2 children on average is paying about $2,000 every month, adding up to $24,000 a year. And if you think about childcare, since our other major industry here in Johnson County is our university, if you think about a childcare classroom as opposed to a university classroom, what you'll notice is childcare centers do not have economy of scale. We have a limited number of children that can be with one teacher. So it's very hard to make the math and the financials work out for childcare centers because they can't increase the number of children that they're serving. So childcare in Johnson County costs the average household 25% of their take-home pay. And if you remember several months ago, President Biden had his Build Back Better plan. In that plan, he wanted to cap childcare expenses at 7%. So I just wanted to give that to you as a reference point that parents and families are paying almost as much or sometimes more than they're paying on their mortgage or for rent. So on the flip side, we want to talk about childcare providers and why we're really struggling to recruit and retain childcare providers in our area. In Iowa, the average childcare worker earns about $22,000 a year. And even though childcare is so expensive here in Johnson County, childcare workforce is more likely to fall within that poverty bracket compared to employees in other sectors. And so, as you know, we are in a workforce crisis. So if you see that you can make more money working somewhere else, you're probably going to jump out of the childcare industry and take that job. So we did a quick survey of the landscape around Johnson County, and wanted to highlight that you can drive a UI CAN bus for $17.50 an hour plus a signing bonus. So these are some areas that are, you know, competing for this workforce. Childcare assistants, classroom assistants in Johnson County, their starting wage on average is $12 an hour. And a lead teacher within a classroom is making a starting salary of $16 an hour. So you can see that we really need to think about raising those wages. So our number one challenge, as I mentioned earlier, is that we have children on waiting lists. We have empty classrooms within childcare centers because those centers can't hire their workforce to serve those children on the waiting list. So we identified workforce as really our number one issue. And what I learned, I was on the governor's child care task force. So was that a year and a half ago now? And the number one thing we walked away from that task force with is knowing that the childcare model doesn't work. We need to increase the pay for childcare workers without increasing expenses to parents. And that is very hard to do without subsidizing wages in some way. So how is the lack of affordable childcare impacting your business? And I wanted to dive into that because I think sometimes we don't really know unless we ask during exit interviews, or we're keeping track, our HR person is keeping track of why people are leaving. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and ABI partnered up a couple of years ago to provide a report. And in their estimates, they found that Iowa businesses are losing $935 million annually as a result of breakdowns in childcare. So in Iowa, jobs lost by women during the pandemic are recovering at a 77% slower rate than those lost by men. And women are re-entering the labor force at a rate that's much slower than men. And we will talk a little bit more about that. Iowa's employment numbers. So I wanted to highlight the fact that our unemployment rate is the same, but our labor force participation rate is still down from March of 2020. And these numbers come straight from the Iowa Workforce Development website. Change in labor force participation rate, as you can see here from this Axios Des Moines article, that women ages 45 to 65 have left and are not re-entering the workforce. There was a survey to follow up with women that have dropped out of the workforce and found that really what they're experiencing is a crisis of care. They're caring for their parents and they're caring for grandkids. And so they are not returning to the workforce. And what a loss for our businesses to have women with that much experience exiting the workforce early. So the Johnson County Child Care Solutions Coalition, that's a mouthful, was formed in 2019. We had some of our first meetings in October, November, and got kind of shut down because of COVID, but continued to meet weekly or every other week during the pandemic to work on whatever challenges childcare providers were experiencing at that time. But what we, when we got back together in June of 2021, we decided that we really needed to create a workforce pipeline. So we've done that. We have been working with Kirkwood Community College on Earn and Learn programs. We also have a new academy, a CDA academy that's going to be running in our high schools. So we've really started to address some of the issues around creating that workforce pipeline. We want to, promote early education as a valued profession in our community and let those childcare providers know that they are doing really, really important work. Our other goal was to maximize state ARPA funds and other grant opportunities that were out there. So we've been going after the governor's funds as she has allocated a variety of different grant opportunities for childcare related topics. So most recently, the hub, the childcare hubs, foresees won a grant from the governor's office to set up a hub in our region. So, and then lastly, so what we've been working, check. We've got those 3 things done. And now really what we want to do is address the wage issue for childcare providers. So what we're proposing, the wage enhancement plan, is that we provide a $2 an hour bump in pay for full-time employees at qualifying childcare centers. And this $2 an hour bump will help get people up into that more competitive pay range so that we can retain and attract more workers to this industry so that we can fill some of those empty classrooms and start chipping away at those waiting lists. So what we're asking for, the business partnership, along with the Johnson County Social Services and the Community Foundation of Johnson County, have developed a fund through the Community Foundation and are asking for donations in line with about $150 per employee per year for a 3-year commitment. And what we plan to do with that fund is to provide those $2 an hour stipends, and then also hopefully be able to provide those $600 a year bonus checks. So what does it look like? So the city of Iowa City and Johnson County have each invested $250,000 over the next 3 years to get that fund off the ground and started. So thank you to the city and to Johnson County. The business community, we are asking for our employers and our partners to invest $150 per employee located in Johnson County per year for 3 years to help us fill that fund. The Community Foundation is accepting those contributions and they are tax deductible because it is a 501c3. Johnson County Social Services will be providing the checks and the administration and getting those childcare providers paid for the hours that they've worked each month. And then, of course, 4Cs, Missy Forbes at 4Cs will be working with childcare centers. We've identified 22 centers that will be a really great fit for this program and help get them into the program and get those folks on board. So Missy will be working on that part of it. So how will your investment into childcare solve the workforce shortage issues? So what we're hoping to do with this wage enhancement program is to attract and retain childcare workers. And we know that pay is a big component of getting folks into this industry. So we want to increase the number of slots available without raising how much our parents are paying. Like I said before, Johnson County parents are paying some of the highest child care bills in the state and across the country. So we really need to try to figure out a way to increase pay without passing those costs along to parents. We want to increase the number of child care assistance spots. 704 spots is not enough. We really need to think about how we can get more of those kiddos into our child care centers and help those families. And we need to allow for parents to have choice and figure out what is the best center for them, whether it's a Montessori or a religious base, whatever. We really want to figure out a way to spread this throughout the community so parents have choice in where they send their kids. And then lastly, again, I really want to promote the professionalism of early childhood educators as a valued industry in our community. So who qualifies? We are working out those details right now, and we have an MOU that is in place to work with child care centers to make sure that they are not only providing services to our parents and our children, but also high quality. So we want centers that have a QRS rating, that their employees have CDAs and are working on other educational attainment. And we are requiring them to pay the Johnson County minimum wage of $11.52 an hour. And of course, this program right now is for only for full-time employees, but we're hoping to expand that in the future as we fill up this fund with lots of contributions. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today to talk about childcare. We have been talking about the childcare crisis for quite a while, since 2019, and I'm excited to get this up and off the ground, this wage enhancement program off the ground, because I think it really will address some of the major issues that we have in our community with attracting and retaining high quality childcare workers to serve children and families in the most important time of their lives. So please reach out to me. Contact information is below, and let me know if you have any questions. You can also contact Cady Gerlach with Better Together 2030 or Shelly Maharry at the Community Foundation if you have any additional questions. Thank you so much. Have a great day.